look, because posing is all the judges see, not the training. 5'5", 212. He looks like, from the here, he looks like he's maybe 4'5". This is a bodybuilder. Right, I mean, he's got those big arms. Big quads, too much oil on the leg.
He looks like he could be 6'1" and 270. He is, but
from the waist to the pecs, it's a little bit longer, but look at those hamstrings. That's freaky. Those arms right there, the tricep, the delts. Hamstrings, the back.
And he's here at the Olympia for the first time, and he's making an impression.
He's not short on muscle. That's the one thing no one's going to say in terms of size. But again, the back's got to get the refinement. He's got to go to work like a sculptor and isolate certain exercises to get the detail and the thickness on that back. I don't know. It's like his arms are a little short. Like he needs something's off on that. Maybe it's the size of his arms. It makes his forearms look too small. It's a muscle contest here, and he's showing a lot of that.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Here comes back and brings the detail.
Please welcome from Canada, Zane Watson.
Zane Watson, another one of the rising stars of the sport. He was runner-up earlier this year in New York, making his second Olympia appearance. And Sean Ray, this is a guy that a lot of people are very, very high on.
Zane's got a nice physique. He's got to bring up the arms a little bit more, tricep. Very nice classical physique. A little bit more meat on the hamstrings in terms of the size.
It's a work in progress, but
right.
You can see where there's a lot to feel good about with where this guy is headed. Where this guy is headed.
To do the crab, you got to have the arms, a little bit more tricep, a little more bicep can help him.
Thank you, Zane Watson. And your final competitor, it's your reigning, defending, 6-time 212 Olympia champion from the United Kingdom, James Lewis.
All right, here he is competing for the final time as a 212 competitor at 34 years old. They call him the Welsh Dragon, and as Bob Ciccarello just mentioned from the podium, he has won this contest each of the last 6 years, the most decorated champion of all time in this division, working with super trainer Neil Hill and looking for title number 7. And of course, this is the final time we're going to get to see him. But first things first, Sean Ray, so far, based on what you're seeing, is this a guy who came here and is prepared to win the title for the 7th consecutive time?
Well, when you've seen this physique as many times as I have, it's very hard to pick it apart. The trademark glutes are in. The back, this is where I said he's going to win the competition if he's going to win. He's hard to beat from the back. This is where Derek Lunsford, I said, is going to have to challenge him if he wants to take this title. Got to see what he looks like from the front a little bit more. He's got those huge arms, but the chest a little bit shallow in terms of thickness. It's always been something I've criticized before, but he's brought the traps up. Calves are world class. Those calves.
I'll say this is a better Flex Lewis than we saw here last year.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a start. be interesting to see who he's compared with.
That
He's got
concludes
nothing to be
all
ashamed of tonight so
individual
far.
presentations. We're going to break it down into the groups. Back and have our first group of 6 on the center line, please.
All right, just as they did with the big guys, they're doing the same here in the 212. They're going to numerically bring them out, I think, in 3 separate groups this time as they compare or they actually give these guys a chance to stand side by side for no particular reason, so don't read into any of these comparisons. And
Thank you, Bob. Gentlemen, front double bicep.
I remember, Dan, and you weren't there, but I was on that stage when Dorian Yates would get one call out, or Lee Haney would get one call out, and the challenge is never have an opportunity to make the champion work. Bill Heath is going to have to work for this one.
Quarter turn right. Spread out a little bit and hit a back double bicep. Relax, quarter turn right. Face front. Thank you.
And let's have our next group of 6 on the center line, please.
Gentlemen, spread out a little bit. Everyone take a step. You guys gotta move. 8, take a step to your left. Move out. And hit a front double bicep. Relax, quarter turn right. Quarter turn right. Back double bicep. Relax, quarter turn right. Face front. Thank you.
And our final group on the center line, please.
All right, we are continuing our way through preliminary judging here of the Olympia 212 division, and the final group's going to come out, so the judging panel is going to get a look at them, and then they will put everybody back, and then we will hear from Steve Weinberger, the coveted first call out. And, you know, as we've gone through this 212 division, you know, we were kind of waiting to see if somebody would step forward and establish themselves as the guy who's making a run at Flex Lewis, as we've had in years past. And Sean Ray, I'm anxious to hear your take as to who has done that, who has sent that message, because right now Ahmad Ashkenani, he comes in as that perennial runner-up, right? He's the guy that we kind of assumed. There was talk that Hadi Chopin would be in this competition. As it turns out, that is not the case.
Yeah, the presidential ban on Iraq or Iran, it's really killing. It's a shame because this is an athletic sport. I mean, Hadi Chopin is no threat or any danger to the United States security, and it would have been great to have him here, if nothing else, just to have him stand next to James Flex Lewis.
Plus, he's an incredibly good bodybuilder, right?
Arguably took him out in Korea. And
Yeah,
it didn't happen.
so
I would
I
love to see
think
the rubber match.
it's really disappointing for all of us that we don't get to see that matchup. That they kind of changed the landscape of how this contest goes. Because I walked into this weekend assuming he was going to be here, and I don't follow all that.
Hadi Chopin only a year ago was second to Cedric McMillan in San Marino Pro, so he's a legitimate bodybuilder.
So,
but I want to see what the judges do here. I know Derek's going to be in that first call out. David Henry should be in that first call out. Let's find out if James is going to have to earn this victory. I can tell you he's done enough to be in the hunt. It's not a slam dunk. It's a very competitive lineup, man. I mean, a lot of things can happen. Derek Lunsford, his muscle maturity may hold him back against
competitive 4, Ahmad, 7, Sean, 10, Camille, 12, David, 13, Derek, 15, Jose, and 19, Flex.
I believe they got that right in terms of that first call out.
Yeah, so Ahmad Ashkanani, Sean Florida, Kamal Argagni, Derek Lunsford, Jose Raymond, and Flex Lewis are your first call out here at the 212 Olympia. And Steve is bringing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 actually.
Interesting. Only 5 or 3 are going to be in the finals. Competitive, and Kamal's got everything. When he stood right there,
Flex and David switch.
Oh, of course, David Henry. I did not mention David Henry. David Henry rounds out an opening call out of 7 bodybuilders. So
Kamal and Sean switch.
Let's see what Steve does and as he moves these guys around.
Kamal is a very good condition.
Very much so. He could be the answer to the aforementioned question. Who's the guy who's going to
Flex and Ahmad switch.
Make a run at Flex Lewis?
There you go. You can see Kamal. Look at how tight Kamal is. Doesn't have the arms, doesn't have the thigh sweeps, but he's got more detail than Flex on the quads. And his abs are clearly standing out.
Derek and Kamal switch.
Tell you, Kamal is impressive.
Yes, there's no question he showed up in shape. Derek's got a very pretty, athletic body. Just it looks young to me.
Gentlemen, give yourself
not a knock
some
on
room.
him, but he's
Spread
up
out a
against some
little
seasoned
bit.
veterans.
And hit a front double
Flex Lewis is
bicep.
10 years older. Imagine what Derek looks like in 10 years.
See, Flex Lewis is sandwiched between 2 guys that I don't think have enough to beat him. Kamal is an interesting scenario as you look at Flex and Kamal, who are separated right now by Ahmad Ashkanani.
I'd like to see Kamal next to him.
I would too.
I think you got to move Ashkanani out. His quads are just not in this race. Right now, Ashkanani has 2 different bodies, upper body and lower body. The lower body is playing catch-up.
Derek Lunsford looking better as the contest goes. And it's great to see Jose Raymond in this, his final bodybuilding contest here in this first call out. So a real credit to him going out on his very much on his own terms.
From the back, Kamal's hamstrings are just not up to snuff. He's got the detail, his glutes are in, but the hamstrings are not there. One of Flex Lewis's strengths from the rear.
Back spread.
Ashkanani matches up on the waist up, but on the waist down, Flex turns the lights out. Derek is actually, looks like he's wider than James, but James is better
Side
conditioned.
tricep.
James doesn't like to be called James, but it's Flex. My bad.
And he tells us he was called Flex before he got into bodybuilding, which is a whole nother conversation. Go figure that one out. Flex Lewis, of course, standing in the middle here, and he seems to be well positioned to retain the title. Does Derek Lunsford?
You got to put Kamal in there, man. He's does not have the detail.
Kamal looks terrific.
His midsection is all over Flex Lewis's.
Favorite most muscular. Bicep.
I just don't know that he's in the condition. So right now I've got Flex Lewis and Kamal in 1 and 2, and Derek Lunsford in 3. Derek's got
Relax,
a great
stay
back to the
front.
bye. Wow, it's pretty.
A lot of quality on that stage right now.
Thank you, gentlemen. Back in line.
But Kamal may be in a fight with Derek. Don't get it twisted. Kamal's good. Derek has a prettier physique.
Is a year turned out to be
Sean's, I'm not gonna.
the record of Lee Haney and in Las Vegas, and
and Sean Roden, as quiet as he is, he's taken on the moniker of the quiet storm that Vince Taylor used to. He sucked it up, and he is thrown down the gauntlet. And you're hearing that from a fan.
Competitor 1, Ahmad. Competitor 2.
It's not an act of desperation. 24 hours, a lot can happen, but he's got to go to work tonight while we're sleeping.
Competitor 9,
and there's no
Charles.
question that we all want to see. Every bodybuilding fan wants to see something that later on they can, tell their kids about it. They can say they were there, and to be able to be a part of history is always special. History can be in 2 ways. It can be a guy winning the contest for the very first time, or it could be a guy establishing an all-time record like Phil Heath is trying to equal tonight.
Or it can be the guy that upsets the record. The guy going for the record.
That's right.
Again, but nobody cared or knew who Buster Douglas was till he knocked out the champ, Mike Tyson.
Because when you think about bodybuilding in history, you always think you can name the year when a guy won the title for the first time. Everybody remembers 1998, Ronnie Coleman. That's what we do. We remember 2006, Jay Cutler. We remember those years. The question is, are we going to remember 2018 as the year Phil Heath equaled the record? Or are we going to remember it as the year Olympia champion number 14 was crowned?
A lot of interesting stories, Dan, and we got another 24 hours before we're sitting in this very seat and making that call. And it's a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to be here with the voice of professional bodybuilding, calling this play-by-play action for you guys around the world.
Back double bicep.
It doesn't end, Dan, with this weekend. The IFBB Pro League Tour does.
It's become a real remarkable thing to see what Jim Mannion and his team have been able to do around the world.
1982 that they put on the first NBC National Championships. Will be taking place November the 17th in Miami, Florida. To get our next group of pros. Here's our final call out here. And as predicted, the same guys we saw earlier in Jose Raymond, Ashkanani, David Henry, and Sean Clarita.
Jose and Sean switch.
Noticeably absent is James Flex Lewis, which tells you that James and Derek, being absent from this lineup, may be fighting it out, and our other guy. The new guy that we were talking about.
Come on.
Front lat trip.
We may see them yet.
Well, I think it's interesting what Steve Wemberger is doing. He's starting to show his hand a little bit. Ahmad Ashkanani, Sean Clarita, David Henry, and Jose Raymond in this call-out. But as you mentioned, 3 men omitted, and I guess we're going to see them next.
Potentially the top 3 men omitted, at least my top 3.
Yep.
And that might be the final comparison. I got to imagine what Hadi Chopin is thinking right at this point in time in terms of what his bodybuilding aspirations are.
And these are big comparisons now. Look, we focus on the winner, but right now there is a 4th and 5th place spot up for grabs. And Ahmad Ashkanani and David Henry and Sean Clarita and Jose Raymond in his final ever bodybuilding competition is making a run at it. And it's great. These guys really brought it. You know, thinking about Derek Lunsford, who we don't see here, we'll see him in a second. When he first walked out, we weren't overwhelmed. We thought he was a little smooth.
Yeah.
It wasn't there, and his body is really starting to come alive. So that's going to be fun to see how it progresses over the remainder of tonight and into tomorrow.
Yeah, you got to be mindful, Dan. Some of the guys may be a little flat, may be dehydrated. Some may be a little bit low on carbs. Some may have overspilled on their carbohydrates. That's why tomorrow's show is so important, because then you have the free posing round where they can hit their poses to their music. The stress of today and the weekend is over. Tomorrow they'll have a little bit more relaxed situation. And posing all day like they're doing now makes them a better bodybuilder tomorrow when they get some calories in. So it is a 2-day competition. It's not over by a long shot. Some of these guys will look better. Some will look worse.
Back in line, please. Kamal, Derek, and Flex.
All right, well, here it is. The top 3 at the 2018 Mr. Olympia. Kamal Agarni by way of Libya. James Flex Lewis by way of Wales, the Welsh Dragon. And Derek Lunsford, of course, by way of the USA. You are looking at the present and the future of this division in one definitive, final, and dramatic call-out as Flex Lewis looks to make his case for a 7th victory. And it's worth mentioning that Flex Lewis is competing in this division for the final time as he looks to go out on top. Derek Lunsford is continuing to improve, continuing to harden. And Kamal, the big story of this division. I don't think there's a lot of people that came in considering him a contender for this show, but he's put himself in that conversation.
He's in that conversation for one reason. Conditioning. He doesn't have the best genetics. He doesn't have the thigh sweeps. He doesn't even have the hamstrings to be in this conversation, but he's got the condition to defeat some of the bodybuilders that had much more muscle mass on their frame. And that's what's beautiful about this division, is that if you sacrifice a little size for a little bit more conditioning, you are able to stand next to guys that are necessarily better. Look at the serratus on Kamal. I mean, you're seeing things on his physique that some of the other bodybuilders can't because it's just simply too heavy. And he's closing the gap on some of these guys because he's able to show detail.
Well, what we're seeing is, when we talk about the serratus and the obliques, that's the age thing. Now, granted, Flex Lewis is still relatively young, but his body is having a harder and harder time staying under 212 pounds. It's exploding through the division is what's happening. And that concludes our 212 preliminary judging. And we're going to see tomorrow night how it plays out as our coverage here from Las Vegas continues, and that's going to wrap things up here from Friday night, and we'll continue. Join us back here tomorrow night from Las Vegas at the 2018 Olympia weekend.
Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.
Absolutely, man. I mean, when you're looking at the break of history, Bill's going to have to dig deep, work his magic, but you've got to know that a guy that's been second before, who's hungry for victory, is going to do the exact same thing, and it's going to make for a great matchup tomorrow.
Meanwhile, fans of Big Ramy around the world, he's extremely popular, are a little bit unsettled right now as the perennial runner-up, if you will, is now being pushed to a place where we have to question whether or not he is going to be in the mix for this title this year.
If he was 310, again, if he came back the other way and was 290, he might have been more competitive. I think he should have probably dialed it back a little bit. Mass.
To be in the mix for this title this year.
If he was 310, again, if he came back the other way and was 290, he might have been more competitive. I think he should have probably dialed it back a little bit. Mass is, it's not.
Relax.
He put it in the
Nathan
wrong
and
place.
Brandon switch.
But the real battle is going to be for that third place spot. It's wide open because William Bonek and Rolly Winkler are also
Brandon and Dexter.
sent back.
Switch.
And the judges are definitely going to be mixing these guys up. They want to get it right, Dan.
Yep.
I don't care if you're fourth place or fifth place. This is what these guys do. They want to get it right. Was 290?
Is it safe to say that the happiest guy in Las Vegas right now is probably Rolly Winkler?